A very warm good afternoon to you from here at Markets Today. My name is Mbithe Mwema and I am your host for the day. It's Friday. We are very excited that it's the end of the week. We will be giving you a recap of what was happening over the week on the NSE. We'll also give you a recap of some of the interesting conversations that we had over here at Markets Today over the last 1 week. And then it's Friday. It's all about Ask Mbithe. So if you want to ask us any question, our SMS line is 20146, or you could reach out to me directly. That's at Mbithe Mwema on all the social media platforms. If that doesn't work for you, Metropole TV is also available on the similar platforms. Please feel free to reach out to us on either of the three. Ask Mbithe is a segment where we first and foremost look at a company and cover its fundamentals as well as its technicals on a very basic level, trying to help you understand what business is this company in, what is the price trajectory, and more importantly, what is the investor sentiment, and do we see opportunities for you to begin to invest in it. Second thing we do on Ask Mbithe on Fridays is we take it down a notch. This week, we have something very interesting lined up for you. Our team members were able to go to the streets and hear your questions. We had your voices in as far as investing in Kenya are concerned, and I will take the time today to go through each and every one of them and to be able to respond to them. I extend an invitation to you to join this conversation. 20146, that's the SMS line if you want me to answer any of your questions. You can also reach out to me, that's Mbithe Mwema, or Metropole TV on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, or Twitter. Without further ado, let's take a look at what was happening in financial markets. We start off with the NSE, and I'll also give you an overview of what was happening on the flip side, which is the fixed interest market, largely the Treasury Bills auction. We kick off with the index performance. NSE all share lost a little bit, down 1.41 percentage points to 139.61 points. Similar trajectory on the NSE 20 share and the NSE 25 share. Now, let's take a look at what was happening to equity turnover. We did see a huge jump yesterday, slightly over 50% jump over the day as the market sort of came to the near tail end of the close for the week. 220 million is what we traded on Wednesday. Yesterday being Thursday, we did see a jump to 349.5 million. That's the value of all the shares that were traded, the number of shares multiplied by the specific price. Yesterday, we did see a bit of a change in sentiment with the foreign investors. They were net sellers yesterday compared to the previous days when they have been net buyers. In the 349 million that was traded yesterday, call it 350 million shillings worth of turnover, Safaricom was number one in terms of dominating trade. We saw it trade at 30.05 shillings per share. Foreign investor interest there was sort of balanced. The buys were equivalent to the sales. Equity was also up there in terms of the volume and the value that it traded yesterday, and we saw more foreign sales rather than buys. This share has come down to 34.1 shillings, and we are seeing it trading at that level. The interest there from the foreigners is more of selling as opposed to buying. Equity Bank was up there. KCB was also up there. KCB still at the 38 shilling mark. What tends to happen between KCB and Equity Bank is this. Equity has more foreign ownership on its books, and we tend to see slightly more price volatility on this particular counter. KCB, on the flip side, has more local holding on this particular stock, so you tend to see much less volatility. In other words, it takes slightly longer for KCB to adjust upwards or downwards as compared to equity because of the dynamics of trading this stock. KCB trades range-bound at 38 shillings per share. Equity has been softening over the weeks as we've seen foreign investors sell out, and it's now at 34.1 shillings per share. We saw some interest as well on East African breweries over the day, which was part of the top trades that went through yesterday. And East African breweries is trading at 161.5 shillings per share. Let's take a look at who the top movers were by virtue of volume. Safaricom there, 6.3 million shares traded at a price of 30.05 shillings per share. Equity Group, we've discussed this, that's 2.3 million shares traded at a strike price of 34.1 shillings per share. UPSA has also been getting a bit of interest over the last couple of days. We've seen it move volumes, trading range bound. It did do about 1.5 million shares over the day. Cooperative also getting on in terms of activity, 659,000 shares traded. And housing finance was a surprise mover, 509,000 shares traded. Looking at the top gainers for the day, the price movement. We did see the small caps dominate interest there. Cabacid, some slight recovery, up 8.43 percentage points to 9 shillings per share. Flametree was also up 8 percentage points. Britam Holdings, it's been going up, it comes down, it's now at 7.56 shillings per share. Diamond Trust Bank, it's another one we have been looking at. Not too much liquidity, but it did gain 2.4 percentage points yesterday to close at 64 shillings per share. On the flip side, the top losers for the day, again dominated by the small caps. We have TransCentury there shedding 6.5 percentage points to 1.58 shillings per share. We discussed this particular stock in detail last week on Friday, and I would encourage you to go and subscribe to the Metropole TV page on YouTube, where you can be able to see what we were sharing on this particular stock. You can find out more. We talked about the business, how it moved from being a company listed by introduction at 50 shillings per share to now a company that's trading at 1.58. We also highlighted the due processes that are ongoing, and what has happened is the company in principle has gotten the approval from the regulators to be able to delist. It awaits the final approval from the current shareholders with the hope that once it delists from the NSE, it can be able to trade over the counter and trade and provide an alternative market for existing shareholders, with the hope that it can be able to raise capital in this particular market. The rest of the counters, more or less the small caps, but at the very bottom, you can see the downward price movement on Equity Group, 2.57 down to 34.1. It's the final quarter, October, not too much happening. We expect the prices to soften, and they tend to soften as we get to the end of the year. If you are looking on a long-term basis for some of these stocks, such as equity, there could be an opportunity to pick it at a lower price level as it continues to soften. That's pretty much what was happening on the NSE yesterday. When we flip charts and we look at what was happening on the fixed income markets, that is the Treasury bills, we did see demand coming in for the 91-day, the 182-day, as well as the 364-day. 6 months ago, at the onset of COVID, the bulk of the demand for Treasury bills was actually at the 182-day and the 91-day mark. In other words, investors were averse to investing for a long period, and they were chasing 3-month, 6-month opportunities at the time. Now that we've gotten through the COVID pandemic per se, in a way we understand what is happening and we have a clearer sense of the impact it has had on the economy, investors are willing to take a longer investment horizon. And for this particular auction, we did see more interest skewed towards the 365-day Treasury bill. This particular bill was looking for demand worth 10 billion, but it attracted bids worth 14 billion. It's currently priced at 7.7%. In other words, if you invest in the government of Kenya for 1 year at this point in time, you are getting a 7.7% return. The government treasury bills are normally sort of an anchor, a base. They are low risk, low return investments, and they tend to give you a sense of what is the kind of return that I need to be able to meet at a bare minimum. If possible, I can look for riskier assets to enhance my return. In sum, if you are investing over a 1-year period, your basic return at this point in time should be benchmarked on the 1-year treasury bill that's at the 7.7% mark. We take a break. When we come back, this week, we focus on CIC Insurance. In the news lines, we have seen the current CEO buy into this stock. The previous CEO sold out his shares. Is there anything material happening here, and is it even worth your while? We take a break. When we come back, I'll take you through who is CIC and give you a synopsis when it comes to understanding the numbers. See you after the break.